Okay, next up, we've got a really interesting beer from a very modern yet traditional brewery from yeah, it's West Kerry Brewery. Yeah, up next, Festive IBA. And then, hey, welcome back to Views on Brews. I am Brendan, and this is a beer that I'm really excited to try. I've got a bit of a soft spot for this brewery, West Kerry Brewery. Have a look at the bottle there. They have this really Irish feel about all of the bottles and their labeling. It's kind of like really really sort of understated and not trying to show off and not trying to be all about the artwork in the sort of like really cool sense, but they are trying to sort of give a very traditional, authentic feel to their branding, and I really like that. So when I was recently down in Kerry, County Kerry, on a camping trip, I picked up as much of their beer as I could find. And one of the beers that I found was a Festive IBA. Now, Festive IBA, IBA must be India Black Ale, I'm guessing. Or Irish Black Ale. Let me see what it says on the back here. I'm not going to try and read the Irish on it because that would be embarrassing, because I can't. I can read the beer Quaker. Doing is a small microbrewery in the West Kerry Gaeltacht. Our beers are traditionally brewed using natural ingredients, malted barley, hops, yeast, and spring water from our own well. Kerry's original microbrewery, established in 2008. So this is a pretty old brewery, by the way. I did not know it was... no, we're only in 2020, but it's very young here. Breweries in Ireland, they're all just in, I guess the 10-year mark, but that's 2008. That's pretty cool. West Kerry Brewery. What else does it say on there? It has a best before date on here of March 21. But this is a whiskey aged beer, so I'm expecting... Oh yeah, it does say here. It's a whiskey aged special limited edition. It says collector's edition. I'm not going to collect it. Dry hopped with Summit, Irish Black Ale, aged for 8 months in a Dingle distillery bourbon barrel. Now, how much more Irish can you get than that? I'm really excited to get cracking onto this beer. Small hiss off the opening. Hopefully it's got not too much in the way of carbonation in it. I like the darker beers to have slightly less carbonation, so that takes away from that really sharp, acrid bite that you can get from the black malts in the brewing process. So they're calling it Irish Black Ale. Now, it's not quite jet black. There is tinges of like the darkest sort of mahogany chestnut in the bottom. Not really red, but yeah, there's a very, very slight tinge of hazelnut maybe colour coming out of the bottom of this beer. When you get it to the thinnest part of it, you can see some slight bit of red in there. So I know there's some roasted barley of some description gone into this beer. Very thick, creamy head on the top of it, which I really like. Sometimes barrel-aged beers, they can lose that thickness of head because the whiskey from the barrel just cuts into it and pulls it apart a bit. But this one here is sitting on here like brown shaving foam. It's fantastic looking. So full marks for that. I'm getting a lot of the spice of bourbon barrel here, a lot of coconut, a lot of vanilla on the nose. That's pretty much all I'm getting, in fact. I have another beer, another dark beer that's aged in Dingle distillery. bourbon barrels. A slight bright fruitiness. I also think that comes from the barrel as well. That's kind of an interesting aroma on the top of this. Anyway, cheers, sláinte. Love, if West Kerry ever get to watch this video, keep with your labeling because it's absolutely brilliant. You know, don't need to follow all of these young trendy types. Just leave them to it. Okay, most of what I'm getting off my first sip of this beer is barrel. By that I mean there's more barrel, more bourbon, or some of the characteristics of, you know, woodiness and vanilla and coconut and like a spice than there is of the actual black ale. But I'm guessing the more I drink it, the more I'll get to unravel the malts that are inside this beer. I've got my jack on because we're outside in the granny flat. It's lit up very nicely in here, but there's no heating out here, and it's gone a lot colder. So we're just keeping warm for now in this jacket. It's a very, a lot of their beers, a lot of West Kerry Brewery's beers are simple traditional beers. And that's one of the things that I'm drawn to about them, is they're keeping hold of their heritage, if you like, rather than jumping on the juice bomb bandwagon, so to speak. And they're just brewing very down-to-earth beers like red ales and dark ales and bitters and all these kinds of basic pale ale stuff. And I just like it. I don't think the beer is like gonna blow you away, but what I really think it does do is it forms that link from Dingle in Kerry. It gives you some connection to the land, so there's a bit of terroir going on in there, and I just like that. I like the fact that, you know, I've seen them put up a few videos of how they mash in and how they, you know, their brewing process and their setup, and it's very quirky, shall we say, and I kind of like that. I kind of like, you know, it's not push button operated. You have to get stuck in there to make these beers, and they're still using the 500ml bottles where everyone else has switched over to cans, it seems, these days. But let's give it another go, this beer. There is a kind of a light, sweet, malty caramel going on, but very, very, very tame. Yeah, not easy to get too much else out of it. The bourbon is quite in the forefront, to be honest, with this beer, and I don't mind that, but it does sort of override the beer that's behind it. So the beer becomes kind of like a platform for the barrel aged, but almost a little bit too much, I might say. But then there is that nice roast bite to it. It's just a very mellow, tame base beer, which I kind of like. That's it. That's it for this beer. It's just a nice beer. They only make nice beers. Some of the beers aren't the beers that are going to set your world on fire if you're looking for the newest, latest, greatest trend. But if you're ever in Kerry and you see West Kerry Brewery, Beer Corker Duin, is that how you say? I think it is. Definitely. They've even got, I think they've got a B&B, or there's some kind of thing. They've got like a bar on the premises and you can stay there, I think. I'd love to do that. Yeah, give them a shout. Anyway, cheers. That's my view on this brew. Love it. Sláinte. And it's on to the next one.